I knew it. You're nothing but a lightweight loser.
Hi everyone, welcome back. This time I'm going to be talking about how dangerous Harley Quinn would be in real life. In case you're new, I've previously covered the Joker, Nightwing, Red Hood, Red Robin, Robin, and Batgirl. So check those videos out if you're interested, but for now, on with this video. First, I'll go over Harley's background, then discuss her fighting style, go into her equipment, then give an overview over just how dangerous she would be in real life, and finally discuss how to beat her. Okay, let's begin. Harley Quinn used to be a psychiatrist and gymnast named Harleen Quinzel. She ended up getting a job at Arkham Asylum, where for some reason they let her interview the Joker despite being relatively new. It wasn't long until after that first interview that Harleen became infatuated with the Joker. Harleen aided in the Joker's escape from Arkham and adopted the moniker of Harley Quinn, named after Harley Quinn, which, from what I can tell, is like an old Italian clown character. Over the years, she would work as the Joker's henchman, typically to her own detriment. Eventually, Harley breaks away from the Joker, either by herself or with the help of Poison Ivy or, sometimes Batman. Realizing that she is only a pawn to the Joker and that the Joker doesn't love her. Despite this, Harley still remains a villain. Just because she's no longer with the Joker doesn't mean that she's no longer Harley Quinn. At some point, Harley is arrested, and instead of rotting in Arkham or another prison, let's be honest, almost any other prison is better than Arkham at holding inmates, she's recruited into an organization called Task Force X, or the Suicide Squad, where, like the name suggests, supervillains are sent on suicide missions by the US government, and in exchange, the inmates will eventually gain their freedom. Harley works in the Suicide Squad along with other inmates, Deadshot and Captain Boomerang, to eventually gain her freedom and maybe by accident save the world a few times. That being said, let's discuss Harley's physical attributes. According to Arkham Knight and Injustice 2, Harley is 5'7" and 140 pounds. This is a pretty good size. I don't mean that to be weird. Just if you compare her to what Arkham Knight said about Batgirl, they said that she was 5'11" and 125 pounds, which just didn't make sense to me at all. But Harley Quinn is around the same size as real-life fighters like Valentina Shevchenko, Holly Holm, and Jermaine Durandamy, who I've spoken about before. I'm going to compare Harley's fighting style to real-life MMA fighters just because Harley is supposed to be able to scrap at a very high level. Harley fights like Chris Cyborg, Paige Van Zant, Antonia Shevchenko, and Jermaine Durandamy. My analysis is mostly coming from Harley's moveset from the Arkham games, and to a lesser extent from Injustice Gods Among Us. Harley employs a style that is almost solely based around striking. Harley makes use of high-energy acrobatics, flying kicks, knees, elbows, and punches. So Paige Van Zant is a fighter I've talked about before. She's not really a contender anymore, but for the reason I like to bring her up so much is because of her fighting style. It's based around high-flying, flashy kicks. And in real life, it's important to build MMA fundamentals like boxing, kickboxing, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and wrestling, and then maybe add some of those creative kicks to your repertoire after you've got the basics down. But Paige basically decided to be flashy first and fundamentally sound second, which it got her some big wins, but it also lost her a lot of fights in the long run to more well-rounded opponents. I think this flashy style is very similar to a lot of what Harley Quinn does. Chris Cyborg is one of the most decorated MMA fighters of all time, holding titles in Invicta, the UFC, and Bellator. She smashed her way through every opponent with sheer blitzing power and raw strength. The only time she was outmatched was against the best female fighter of all time, Amanda Nunes. Harley, at the end of the day, is a crazy and violent psychopath, and Chris Cyborg is a nice lady by all accounts, but, oh god, when she's in the octagon, she is brutal. I feel like Harley and Cyborg share that same violent mentality in fighting. And next is Antonia Shevchenko. Antonia is the older sister of the champion Valentina Shevchenko, who I've spoken about before. Both sisters fought in Thailand for a while, but Antonia took a long break from competition while her sister became one of the best female MMA fighters of all time. Inspired by her sister's success, Antonia has made a comeback and has made it to the top 15 of her sister's division. Antonia fights a lot like Valentina, but doesn't match her in grappling skill, in my opinion. However, Antonia is just as deadly when it comes to striking. Harley uses a lot of knees and elbows, which is a big part of Antonia's style, and also that lack of grappling also mirrors what Harley does. Finally, the last fighter I'll discuss is Germaine de Randamie. She's actually a lot like Antonia in that she doesn't grapple much and is an accomplished Muay Thai fighter. Germaine also has the unique status of being both a former UFC champ and having knocked out a male fighter in a boxing match who was 40 pounds heavier than her. So, in total, Harley is a striker who is flashy like Paige Van Zandt, vicious like Chris Cyborg, yet has that technical ability of both Antonia and Germaine. Now that is out of the way, let's move on to Harley's equipment. Harley uses a machine gun with a grenade launcher haphazardly duct taped to the bottom of it. Pistols, a baseball bat, a giant mallet, dynamite, jack-in-the-box bombs, confetti snare traps, cupcake bombs, needles, trained hyenas, and weaponized laughing gas. So let's just start out with the guns. I've talked about firearms before in my Joker and Red Hood videos. Basically, there's a reason why soldiers use these over everything else in real life. In Arkham Knight, Harley has this big machine gun with a grenade launcher. Like the Joker, I'm sure that she can really use any type of firearm as long as she can spray paint it something. Anyway, with such a large caliber weapon with the added grenade launcher, this is probably her deadliest weapon. She could chew through buildings and, instantly kill people who are far away. So people like Batman would have to be very careful in his approach not to be shot. That being said, Harley's never really demonstrated any sound tactical or technical ability with firearms, but I'm sure like the Joker, she can at least shoot them. Next are her pistols, which she uses in Injustice. I said before in my Red Hood video that using a pistol in each hand is pretty dumb, and no one would ever do that in real life, but Harley is the exact kind of person who would do that. 2 pistols basically decreases the caliber and accuracy of what you could potentially be using, but I guess it does let you to shoot 2 directions at the same time, which is really difficult to do with any accuracy, but hey, they're still guns, so even though it's not really the optimized way to use them, it's still deadly, and it fits her character. Harley also uses explosives. Like I said, she often rigs seemingly harmless things like cupcakes and toys to explode. Explosives are pretty deadly in real life, so her use of IEDs as traps and grenades makes her a lot more dangerous than if she hadn't used explosives. Harley is probably most known for her use of a baseball bat or mallet. For the oversized mallet, I can only really see her using this as a gag. It's just so unwieldy that even to try and hit someone with it, although possible, is just pretty far from being effective. On the other hand, baseball bats are pretty useful. They're ergonomic, although not necessarily made to be used in one hand or as a weapon. But it's essentially just a club, which gives a big advantage over unarmed opponents, but I think would still lose out to things that are dedicated weapons, kind of like Robin's sword or Red Robin's staff. Harley is also shown to stab people with needles, and not the kind like a porcupine has, but the kind that people get for a flu shot or whatever. These things aren't really that deadly unless the needle is huge and hits a very particular spot. But presumably, Harley's needle is full of some kind of drug that would either kill her opponent pretty quickly or otherwise inebriate them. I don't think that this would be the most effective weapon to use in a fight, just because you have to get close enough to inject, hold the needle in the body of the person long enough to push down on the plunger, and also hit a spot that won't break the needle or inject the drug in a spot where it won't properly circulate through the bloodstream. But on the other hand, even though it's not the most efficient thing, it is 100% something that I could see Harley using. It would also add to that fear factor, I guess. Like, you don't want to get injected by a dirty needle from a insane clown lady. Next is the confetti snare trap that Harley uses in Arkham Knight. I honestly have no idea how this thing works. In theory, you throw it at someone and it explodes, wrapping them up in ribbons and confetti. I just don't see how this would work in real life, and I also think if Harley's going to throw something at someone, it's probably going to explode. Harley also uses laughing gas as a weapon. I don't think this is the same as Joker venom, which outright kills people. I think it's just kind of a smoke bomb that makes people laugh. I'm not sure if something like this can be made in real life. I guess it's theoretically possible to pack smoke in with laughing gas or otherwise make laughing gas more deadly, and Harley seems to be immune to it, which is interesting. As far as weapons go, though, I don't think it's that bad. Harley doesn't necessarily have to drop it at her feet, like in the Arkham games, so it's pretty usable. It's just isn't on the level of the Joker venom, which straight up kills everyone except the Joker. And the last thing I'll talk about that isn't really equipment, but I'm going to put it in this category anyway, is the hyenas. So in real life, hyenas very rarely kill people, but it's not unheard of for them to scavenge human remains or even kill people. It's just rare. So in Malawi, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Anyway, back in 1962, there were these two man-eater hyenas responsible for killing at least 27 people, and they were hunted down, and when they looked at their sizes, they were 159 pounds and 170 pounds. So that's pretty huge for a hyena, but given that Harley's hyenas are pets, she could raise them to be that size if she just feeds them well. So hyenas can also run 37 miles per hour and can sometimes kill things like lions. And there are also real life examples of people domesticating hyenas, so it's not unheard of for Harley to be able to do the same. So yeah, hyenas are definitely an asset in Harley's repertoire. I'd feel bad for someone like Batman or Robin trying to punch a hyena in the face. Anyway, let's move on. So Harley, like the Joker, would be a very scary terrorist in real life. Her use of firearms and improvised explosives alone make her dangerous, but when you combine that with her straight-up fighting ability and makeshift weapons, she becomes pretty dangerous. When making this video, I was planning on giving her a lower ranking than the Joker, who I said was a 7 out of 10 on the danger scale, but I don't know, I'm not completely sure yet. When you compare Harley to the Joker, he has the advantage in equipment, but she is the better fighter. I think I would still probably have to give a slight edge in danger to the Joker, mostly just because he has more gadgets and he matches Harley's firearms and explosives. It can be argued as well that the hyenas would also listen to the Joker as well, so, in a fight, I think Joker might have the advantage there. Plus, Joker also has the Joker venom, which is enough to potentially wipe out everyone in a pretty large radius without damaging the Joker himself. I think it's actually probably his deadliest weapon. So without Harley having that Joker venom, I would say that I would put Harley Quinn at a danger score of 6 out of 10. So before this video, I always wondered why the Suicide Squad would even recruit her, but now that I've gone through her capabilities, she does bring a lot to the table in the way of firepower, demolition, and, just being capable enough to hold her own even without weapons. So, although she's not like a trained soldier or anything, she does bring a lot of unique ability that I think could potentially be useful in a Suicide Squad-like scenario. Okay, so now let's discuss how to beat Harley Quinn. Harley is a little bit different than the Joker. I said in my Joker video that his weakness is how he deliberately chooses to be less deadly than he can be for the sake of being cruel or funny. I think Harley would have a similar issue in that instead of, say, blowing you up with an IED, she would rather confront you with something like an oversized mallet and try and kill you with that instead. On the other hand, I don't think Harley plays with her food as much as the Joker, so you can't rely on her not killing you right away. At the end of the day, however, Harley is just a human being. If you're able to catch her relatively off guard without any time to set bombs or acquire firearms, and of course without her pet hyenas around, she shouldn't be that difficult to apprehend. If she is prepared, however, the best thing to do is just not to play her game. Like the Joker, she'll probably set traps, but she can't plan on the same level as the Joker necessarily. So if you come at her with a lot of force, she'll be limited in her response, and you can potentially capture her or defeat her in some way. Anyway, that's the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed this one. As I've said before, once I hit 100 subscribers, I'll make a video comparing all of Batman's sidekicks. Right now, I'm at about 63, so we're making pretty good progress. The next video should be out relatively soon. Might be a little bit more than a week because I have exams and stuff going on. I do have a few ideas for who to cover next. Maybe Scarecrow, Deadshot, Killer Croc, or even Green Arrow. So let me know in the comments who you would like to see next, and don't forget to subscribe if you want to support the channel. Love ya. See you next time. Bye-bye.